Good morning. My name is Sam. I'm a Hornets fan, and we're talking Hornets basketball 18-ish hours removed from the NBA trade deadline. The Hornets, Jeff Peterson, have done a madness, and I'm so here for it. They were ruthless, they were aggressive, and I appreciate it. I appreciate what they did yesterday. And even today, like as I'm recording this, they just signed Elfrid Payton on a 10-day. So we're going to get into, in this video, we're going to get into what this team will look like the rest of the season. But I want to talk about yesterday and Nick Richards, kind of. It doesn't really count as deadline day, but it was part of it. You know, it's a factor. It's a factor in all of this, right? But largely impressive work from Jeff Peterson and crew. It was his first deadline day as GM. Right? It's the second deadline day under this new ownership and another busy day, right? Last year, we got PJ and Gordon Hayward moving with Rozier happening like a few weeks before all of that. This year, Micic, Martin, and Mark Williams moved. Craziness. I was sleeping when the Mark Williams trade happened. So I woke up to the news. If you want to see my video about that shortly after I woke up, that's on my channel. And then when the Micic and Cody Martin trade happened, I made a reaction video on that. So go check that out for my immediate thoughts on those specific deals. But now we got some time to think. We heard a little snippet of why Mark Williams was traded on TNT last night. I'm gonna get into that in a second. We haven't had a press conference yet from Jeff Peterson to talk about the new guys at this stage. So we'll see how these guys are unveiled and if they'll even play tonight against the Spurs. I doubt it, but you never know. Before the close of the deadline, the Hornets traded Mark Williams, Cody Martin, Vasa Micic, and a second-round pick. And in return, they received Dalton Knecht, Cam Reddish, Jusuf Nurkic, a bad 2026 first-round draft pick, a 2030 Lakers pick swap, which is probably going to be pretty bad, an unprotected Lakers 2031 first-round draft pick, which is interesting, and as of today, Elfrid Payton. Welcome to Charlotte. But Mark Williams is the headline here. You know, he was the guy that really shocked me, obviously, and I shouldn't be shocked because once Luka Doncic got traded, it just really made it possible for anybody to be traded. So I shouldn't be surprised. Like if Luka can go, anybody can go. And then especially a guy like Mark Williams, who was drafted by a different organization, right? Like that was a cup check decision. That was an MJ reign. The new owners, even though they have an affinity to Duke and clearly like Mark Williams, I think the on the court stuff wasn't clicking. And the notion of having to pay him in a year and a half it's a scary endeavor. As a fan, I wouldn't have felt comfortable paying Mark Williams $20 to $30 million a year at all, right? Locking up the salary cap commitment to a guy who has injury concerns, right? And also doesn't seem too locked in defensively, which is it's a no-go, right? When you're trying to build something, they're trying to make the playoffs eventually, right? And they clearly viewed Mark Williams as not a piece of that puzzle. But we also found out last night that the back injury that we were told over and over again was fine really limited his potential going into the season and limited his production going into the season and made the Hornets comfortable moving him for something that like is really valuable. Like Knecht and 2 ones, even though one's a swap, like that's legit. That's a legit return for Mark. But let's get into, I'm going to show you what they said on TNT last night.
Why in the world would a team like Charlotte, who's rebuilding, want to part ways with a guy like Mark Williams? Well, I was told there was some concern within the four walls of the Charlotte Hornets that Mark Williams has some issues with his body, including a bad back that has limited his playing time. He's just coming off of a foot injury, but that back injury has prevented him from being able to get in the weight room, add strength, and that has really stunted his growth. However, when you think about the potential of vertical spacing with Luka and LeBron throwing lobs to a guy like Mark Williams, sky is the limit. Guys, you saw what Luka was able.
Yeah, true. And Mark can go to LA and have a great career. Like, that's not impossible. And I think he's going to excel over there in that new environment, playing with much better players and playing in much more meaningful games. But there's be more of a spotlight on him, right? The nights where he just wasn't closing out on guys and things like that, or just reaching instead of moving his feet, or just being bullied down below, you can get away with that in Charlotte because the eyes of the NBA aren't focused on you here. That's not going to fly in Los Angeles. So I think it's an interesting thing to say, right? Instead of being critical of his play style or his production, they, at least with this report, blamed it on the back injury. And that's the reason why he isn't performing, or what didn't perform defensively. Cutting ties with Mark Williams now makes a lot of sense for the Hornets. I think they sold high on him. And if I'm in the room, if I'm in the Hornets front office, I would do this deal 10 times out of 10. I love what they pulled off. I love how they don't have to risk putting themselves in really like salary cap hell by overpaying him in a couple of years. I appreciate what they pulled off with Mark Williams. And I hope he goes to the Lakers and balls out. I'm rooting for him. I want him to succeed. But from what I've seen, right, 84 whatever games in 3 years. I know the first year is a bit because he spent a lot of time in Greensboro. Not enough people talk about that. You know, he wasn't hurt. Although he did get hurt in Greensboro. Everybody got ankle injuries that year. But year 2, right, 19 whatever games, done. Back cooked. Comes into this season, misses the first 20 games of the year with a foot injury or an ankle injury. Poor. Just really poor. Really bad trend. Back and feet for a 7-footer. It's a bad path. And the Hornets clearly saw how this thing could play out. And they cut ties. They brought in a really nice rookie, and they have some draft capital to go with it. You do that 10 times out of 10, in my opinion. But, you know, like, the Hornets are going to have to address the center position properly. All due respect to Josef Nurkic, he's not the long-term solution at the position. But the Hornets have had a real poor history manning the center spot. I know this is a different regime, but Hornets fans, we had to live this, all right? Jeff Peterson just got here. This isn't his fault this year, 2021, but we had to suffer through this, right? They took James Bouknight, 11th overall, could have had Şengün, and then they traded back into the draft to draft Kai Jones. This is the 2022 draft. They selected Mark Williams, 15th overall, but they also technically drafted Jalen Duren and traded him. They had both these guys, bro. They rocked with Mark because Mark is rocking with us. No, they traded Duren. It's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal in hindsight. Yeah. Especially because, like, the reports that the Lakers badly wanted Duren, and Detroit was like, nah, we're good. Meanwhile, Hornets Charlotte's like, yo, hey, we can get it. We can get involved. We can get involved. Also, shout out to Walker Kessler, another guy who could have been a Hornet, but, you know, we move. The 2023 draft, obviously, Wemby went first. That's who you wanted, right? They got Brandon Miller. Worked out pretty good, right? Shouts to Brandon. Get well soon. And then in the second round, the first pick in the second round, right? Yeah, they took James Nagy, who was a big fat zero. Now, which brings us to the 2024 NBA draft, the most recent NBA draft. They take Tajon Salon with the 6th overall pick, which has not gone well. He's very young. He has a long time to get right? I'm not killing the kid right now, but it's pretty brutal. It's pretty brutal right now. I can't lie. I won't sugarcoat it. He's far from being a real NBA player. Donovan Clingan selected right after him. That's who I wanted on draft night. I wanted Castle or Clingan. Castle went 4th. Fair. Clingan, chilling, sitting there. I wanted and needed the Hornets to draft Clingan and trade Nick Richards. and go with Mark Williams, who's coming off the back injury. It was a big mystery of what he would look like this season. And Clingan, who resets the clock, right? You got four fresh years out of Clingan, where Mark at that point only burned the first 2 years with G League time and the back injury. You had insurance there, long-term insurance there, if Mark Williams wasn't giving you what you needed, right? When you look at the centers that the Hornets could have selected, Zach Edey, right? Khalil Ware, who's killing it. And then the guy they just traded for, Dalton Connect. I would have loved Connect at 6. Like, I'm a fan of Connect, and I'm happy he's here now, right? But, Jared McCain would have been useful, right? Buzelis, right? There are guys that the Hornets passed on that would be nice to be a Hornet right now. And so while I want to give Peterson credit for yesterday's work on draft night, his first draft night, a bit of an L. Can't lie, bit of an L. Now that we've ended up here, knowing what we know now, the draft night was an L. Honestly, best of luck to Mark Williams in Los Angeles. I hope he becomes the rim protector that he's built to be, that he's advertised to be, and he has a long, successful NBA career. But I think for what he showed here in Charlotte, it was time to go, and the Hornets made the most of it. Big W. Pivoting to Cody Martin and Micic, I don't have really much else to add on them specifically. Wish them the best. I will be shocked if Micic breaks into that Phoenix rotation. Cody Martin, I hope he's back healthy and can contribute, because I think he's a real role player, and I would love to see him in the playoffs. His brother got an opportunity to shine in the playoffs with Miami. I hope Cody gets the same opportunity to at least get a good look in a real playoff game, because I think he's capable of doing that. Now let's get into the new guys. Pause. In purple are the new additions, right? Nurkic, Connect, Reddish, Alfred Payton signed to a 10-day today, and then Josh Koji from the Nick Richards deal, right? Done for the year, basically Miller, Williams, and Mann. All right. Trey Mann hasn't been officially ruled out for the year, I don't believe, but he's done. Like, let's be real. He ain't playing. But Miller, Williams, Grant Williams now, the only Williams left, Dunzo. I think this is how we'll see the team the rest of the way. This spot, the shooting guard spot, maybe Connect finds his way and replaces Nick Smith Jr. at some point. But, yeah, as of now, I think this is what we'll see the rest of the season, right? LaMelo, Nick Smith Jr., Josh Green, Miles Bridges, and Nurkic as your starting 5. KJ Simpson as your backup point guard. Seth Curry as the backup shooting guard. Connect as your 6th or 7th man. And Koji as your power forward, small forward, kind of flexible wing. And Diabate doing Diabate type things as your backup center. I really hope, man. I really hope at some point they open up a full-time slot for him and they can sign him to an extension. I like Diabate a ton. I think he's incredible value as a backup center, and it'd be a shame if he walked and they couldn't retain him, right, because of having a guy on the roster like Daquan Jeffries. No disrespect to him, but you're taking up a spot that could go to a guy who could be part of the actual plans for next season. Jeffries I do like a lot, by the way. And maybe Cam Reddish is that guy they just get because they need to create space for Diabate. But the new guys, Nurkic, Connect, Okogie, Reddish. Nurkic will slot right in to the starting 5 at the 5. Makes a ton of sense. Brings a lot of beef right down low that we haven't seen in Charlotte in a minute. And hopefully brings like some better defense, right? The Hornets aren't going to win anything this season anyway, right? The season's been over since December, if we want to be really honest with ourselves. At minimum, these games should be competent. I think Nurkic is a competent NBA player, and that's all we can truly ask for at this stage, right? Next season, expiring contract, some of these draft picks, maybe you can make something happen to upgrade that slot. We're just trying to get through the year, dog. I think that's where we're at. That's where we're at right now. And then, Connect's a bucket. He's in the 87th percentile in effective field goal percentage. Can you see that? You can see that. 93rd percentile in 2-point percentage. He's middle of the pack in 3-point percentage, 36% on the season for him. But he should have plenty of looks and opportunity to let it fly here in Charlotte. There's not a lot of offense in the second unit. All right, Diabate's not giving you that. Okogie's not really giving you that. Curry can, but he's been really up and down. KJ Simpson, you know what I mean? You don't want to It's not a lot of offense. Connect has a chance to be that offensive spark in the second unit. That could change games. So adding him to the mix for the rest of the way, it's a good place to be. But like defensively, he ain't gonna bring it. But so pairing him with the Koji makes sense. With Diabate holding things down in the paint, I think it's a respectable second unit just to get us through the season, right? You throw Trey Mann back in there, you throw Grant Williams in there, things look a lot better, but they're cooked, right? It's over. I mean, Cam Reddish, we'll see. So it's a low risk endeavor, right? He was basically a throw in the trade. So if he could contribute, great. But he's on audition mode. He's playing for his NBA future the rest of the way. He doesn't have a contract next season, and this is like his fourth or fifth stop in the league. So he should be motivated to prove he's an NBA guy, and he should get plenty of opportunity here, especially considering how often guys go down with injuries. But the roster is pretty full. It is full. 15 full-time spots, all 3 two-way slots, and then the 10-day. So I hope Diabate can find his way to a full-time roster spot before the season ends. It'd be a shame for him to hit the open market and the Hornets lose out on having a really serviceable backup center on the cheap. That'd be a blown opportunity for sure. We're gonna have ample time to talk about the future of the franchise, just the rest of the year and throughout the summer, etc. But nothing happens without LaMelo and Brandon Miller being healthy. Nothing. Okay? Absolutely nothing. Those guys need to be healthy and locked in, right? They're going to add a top draft pick this cycle. As of right now, the Hornets have the 4th best odds at winning the lottery. So let's see. Pain. Pain. I swear to God. Pain. But okay. LaMelo, Brandon Miller, and let's pretend they end up with the 6th pick again. They'll get a top 10 guy, right? Probably one of the centers. That's prime big territory, right? They can end up with a nice young center in that range. So it wouldn't be the end of the world. But LaMelo, Brandon Miller, whoever they end up with from this draft class, right? Then you factor in all of this. Not pictured here is probably a pick from either Memphis or Phoenix. So it'll be in the 20s in 2026. It's whatever. But a pick's a pick. If they want to maybe move up, say they get screwed on the lottery. Let's say they get screwed on lottery night and they want to move up. Maybe there's a play there. If they want to package an expiring or Josh Green's contract or Nurkic's contract with any number of these picks, they can do that to fortify things to get the guy they want. If they want to really go for an all-star guy or hell, even an all NBA level guy, they have the picks to do it and they have the contracts to do it. Whether it's Bridges' contract, whether it's Nurkic's contract, whether it's Josh Green's contract. Because this is what I mean, right? You got Bridges at 25 next season, Nurkic at 19 next season, Josh Green at 13, Grant Williams at 13, right? They can put Solana at the other ones. You know what I mean? They could put these numbers together to get something going because they're under the apron, right? So there's a path to upgrade the center spot, the power forward spot, whatever, small forward spot, if they want to cash in those picks, depending on who's available, right? That's a big if. And the way the Hornets are currently constructed, the only way they're going to go get an all-star level guy is through the trade market, because it's going to be a pretty tough sell to recruit a free agent to come here, given how things are going currently. You never know, though. You never know. The Hornets won't have a ton of cap space anyway, so that is going to make it difficult, the lack of real cap space. But also the current state of the Hornets will make it difficult to bring in a real hitter in the free agent market. I think in my next video, I'm going to make a list, I think, of guys I want them to cash in on in the summer, right? Guys that are worth bringing in and turning some of that draft capital into actual NBA production. Because I don't want a bunch of kids on the team, It's just, at some point, you have to follow what Houston did. You have to follow what Detroit did. Those franchises made a decision. They're like, you know what? Enough of the kids. We have enough. We have plenty of kids now. Let's go get some adults. in the room. Some real NBA guys who have been in the playoffs before, whether it's Tobias Harris or Fred VanVleet, right, or Dylan Brooks or Tim Hardaway Jr. Like they went and got real guys, and you saw what happened. That's a video for another time. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. So until then, I've been Sam. You've been great. Peace.